This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, here we are, ready to go. Let's preview a little Miami and Kansas City with the one and only Matt Verderame. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I am feeling good. How are you feeling?
Not good. What can I tell you? Watching this collapse again, 2-3 down the stretch. If they lose on Saturday, it's 2-4. Not happy, bro. I am, and I saw some of your tweets. My problem right now is more with Mike McDaniel than anything else. He abandons the run still. He makes calls that make no freaking, that option play he called for a Chan in that game.
That wasn't good. That wasn't good.
Like at that moment, I was just talking before you were on, when you pull that play, okay, it's first and goal and you're at the 5. That's when you pull that play, not when you're on your side of the field in a game at that moment that wasn't going to create anything for you. They're at the 5. You bring so much attention to Chan. Maybe he can dump it into the end zone like Derrick Henry does, or something like that. That makes sense. Okay, I get that, dude. But where he did it, it made no sense. I'll give you another one. They take a lead, 21-14. On the next possession, they start at the 25. The first play he calls is a 25-yard pass play to Tyreek in between 2 or 3 guys, and it's incomplete. And on the next play, there they are running the ball like 11 yards. It's like, yo, dude, come on, man. Yo, come on. There are things that he does that just doesn't make sense. And then I think he's kind of been a little bit of a bad influence on Tua. And Tua has a Russell Wilson disease. The nice guy disease. So when Pete Carroll or I think it was Darren. No, it wasn't Bevel. Was it Bevel that sent in that? Was he the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl?
Yes, it was Darrell Bevel.
Okay, so they send in a pass play. That's where Russell Wilson needs to become a dick and say, what? Like he hears it. He doesn't need to share it with his teammates. All right, fellas, we're going to run the ball. Hey, Marshawn, let's win this bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I'm at a point, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I'm at a point where Tua needs to also not be a robot and do everything that his coach is telling him. He needs to kind of, by the way, Marino did not do everything Shula wanted. Like all the time, Matt. All the time. Well, Marino would no, I'm not doing that. And he did what he wanted to do. Yeah. And a lot of times it has to work.
Yeah, right. You're a dead man. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you tell me about this relationship and Daniel, what do you see?
I think that right now Tua doesn't have the cachet or the clout that Marino had or that Russell Wilson had after winning a Super Bowl. Like right now, Tua does not have the standing to say, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not saying he can't do it. I mean, could obviously do it, but I think that's part of the problem. I also think watching that game on Sunday, look, they were thoroughly outplayed and they still could have very well won that game. And they gave it away. I mean, I don't necessarily blame McDaniel as much for that game. Like those 2 interceptions that Tua threw were egregious. You just can't throw those footballs. I'm sorry, man. Like, especially the last one. You can't. You're throwing at Chase Claypool, who runs like me, and you're throwing it into double coverage. It's second down. Like, just throw it away, check it down, whatever. I can't throw that. There was no window for that ball to get in there.
There was no reason for it. That was a dumb interception.
That was insane. Like, and if you throw a ball like that Saturday, you go home. Like, that's the end of your season. Like, you can't throw that ball there. You have an opportunity. The defense, as beat up as it was, look, it made plays enough to keep you in the game. They gave up a ton of yardage, but they
lost on a deflected Andrew Van Ginkel off his helmet lucky play and a special teams touchdown where 2 Dolphins collided against each other and created the gaping hole for the runner. They lost on those 2 plays. That's
defensively, they gave you a chance in the game. Now, look, they also got some help in that game. I mean, Allen misses Diggs for what should have been the easiest 90-yard touchdown of all time. And
That's who he is.
No, I agree with you. Oh, you know how I feel about this. I agree with you, but I'm just saying the point is, were the Dolphins perfect defensively? No, but they're not going to be. They're missing half the team. Like, you're trying to hang on for dear life defensively right now and just make enough plays. And they did that. They did that. You know what? The Bills missed a couple of shots. They forced a couple of turnovers. I'll tell you, the one play that gets lost.
Cook dropped the touchdown, dude.
Yeah, you're right in the end. I'll give you a play, though, that gets lost to time because they lost the game. That play at the goal line for the half is one of the best tackles I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he drilled that guy like a third of the way between the 1 and the goal line and knocked him flat on his ass. Look, I think, you know what? If you're the Dolphins, that game makes you sick because, hey, look, if you went in there and you just got beat straight up, okay, fine. You lost that game because you couldn't get out of your own way the last half of the football game.
Yeah, the offense failed. The offense failed.
The offense was awful.
They played a responsible first half, and then it's like he all of a sudden all right, F the run, let's just, and it's like, brother, did you not look how the game starts? This is what pisses me off about McDaniel. You know what they are, and you open up the game trying to be fancy and smart with a pass, and you start with a pre-snap penalty from your offensive lineman. And on the next play, on 2nd down and 15, there goes a Chan for a 16-yard run. And it's like, yo, butthead, just do that all the time. That's what you're supposed to gouge these guys with the run, dude. Don't get cute. Don't get cute with an option play. Don't get cute by calling 25-yard plays to make it harder on everybody. That's my problem right now with McDaniel. There's no rhyme or reason to how he calls a game. He's a great play designer, but he's like the dude that has the puzzle on his table, and it takes like 4 years to build because he's just like stuck in sections and all kinds of that. So he has all the pieces, but he doesn't really know how to put the puzzle together yet.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if they're winning on Saturday, they better rush for about $1.75 plus because that weather is not going to do. I mean, if you're asking Tua to drop back 40 times in that, it's over. Like, you need to run the ball with Mostert and Achane and do whatever you got to do. And look, it's not going to be easy, but I mean that's the way they're going to have to play. I mean, the weather. I know it's not snowing or rain, but when it's that cold, it is hard to throw the ball. I mean, the ball's a rock. It is slippery. And if you don't have a cannon of it, I mean, that is a hard thing to throw that ball. And it's hard on the receivers. I mean, that ball, when it hits you, it bounces off you. That's a game where if you're Miami, you better be able to just line up and run the football. And if you can't, and by the way, I think the Chiefs are probably going to do the same thing with Pacheco. I think it's going to be a lot of, hey, man, here it comes. Like, here's Isaiah Pacheco tackling 25 times. I mean, when it's that cold out, throwing the ball 30-plus yards in the air is going to be brutal. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Miami can't be successful like they were last time with Travis. It will be a Pacheco-Kelsey game.
Yeah.
If they get Kelsey involved, because that'll be the safer passes for Mahomes and the more sure passes. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to be the outsides nearly as much. So I would imagine if Kelsey, I know he hasn't had a Kelsey-like year, and for whatever reasons.
Well, it's also going to be Rashee Rice in this game, where early in the year when they played the Dolphins the first time, Rice had 2 catches and a touchdown on the first drive, and he basically didn't play the rest of the game because at the time they were using him for like 20% of the snaps. Now they're using him for about 90% of the snaps. Like, Rice is going to be, I would say the bulk of their offense, the vast bulk of their offense is going to be Rice, Kelsey, and Pacheco. And they'll mix in Justin Watson here and there, and they'll mix in Clyde Edwards-Helaire and whatever. But like, those 3 guys are the 3 guys. I mean, those are the guys. And look, in a game like this, I'm sure with Kansas City, they are going to sit there and just try to pound the ball at Pacheco against what is a front that right now is missing a lot of guys. I mean, they're going to just run the ball to the edges and say, here it comes. I mean, they're going to pull the guards, pull the center. They've run the ball well. Pacheco's played well, and he's a hard guy to tackle. And again, when you get into that kind of weather, and I'll be there Saturday night, I'm covering the game. I mean, that is going to be, I don't care who you are. And I don't know, like, I'm not saying this jokingly. I know most of the people listening are from Florida. I grew up in weather that sometimes I played outside when it was that cold. And I got to tell you, when it's that cold, it's in your bones when it's that cold. It is Like there's a part of you that you're like, I want to get inside. Like it's brutal. I mean, it is. Let's put it this way. I'm glad the press box, the windows will be shut because I would not enjoy being out there Saturday night. There's no question.
Yeah. It's crazy. And in a way, in a twisted way, I think Miami has a slightly better chance this week than they did last week, because last week I think they were facing a scarier offense. Whereas
sure.
normally you'd be terrified of the Chiefs offense. But this year, it's not the case right now. And as bad as Miami is, you know what they're going to do? They're going to put Jalen Ramsey on Rashee Rice. And then they're going to try to bracket Kelsey and see if they could get away with that. And then the rest is up to the front line and then the new linebackers to chase down Pacheco. And Pacheco is a perfect weapon for this weather because he's just a hammer. And that's one thing that you definitely need in this kind of weather.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, it's going to be interesting. I agree with you on Pacheco. I think he's probably best suited for this type of game because it's one of those things. I mean, it's human nature. Like the 15th time that damn guy gets the ball, like, I got to tackle this guy again. Like this guy, it hurts. It hurts to tackle somebody in a weather like that. So, yeah, I agree. I think, look, the Chiefs, if I know anything about them, they will do everything they can with motion and formation to try to get Kelsey singled up. Not that it's easy. Fangio did a great job bottling him up the first game. With Rice, they'll probably do the same thing. I mean, I remember watching that Titans game where the Titans just ran Hopkins away from Ramsey as much as humanly possible. I would think that the Chiefs will try to do the same thing. Obviously, the Dolphins are a team. They like to play a lot of zone under Fangio. That's the way he plays. I'm curious to see if they stick in that or if they abandon it a little to try to match up Ramsey with Rice most of the game. Or do they stay in their zones and the Chiefs just say, all right, you know what, look, we're going to try to get away from him as much as possible. And the Dolphins just stick to their core principles. My guess is they'll mix and match, and they'll probably do a little bit of both. But I think this game, frankly, comes down to, can Miami get pressure on Mahomes? If they can't do it, as much as their receivers have been a tire fire this year, I mean, at some point, somebody's getting open. Somebody's going to catch them. I mean, it's just human. Eventually, it's going to happen. Wilkins and Sealer against that interior of Humphrey, Tooney, and Trey Smith, that to me is the matchup of the game. If they can win some matchups inside and get pressure, then they've got a shot. If they can't, and it becomes one of these games where Mahomes is just sitting back there looking to throw the ball 6, 7, 8 yards a clip with Pacheco running, then I think it becomes hard. Then I think it becomes something where all of a sudden, it's always 2nd and 5 and it's always 3rd and 2. And it's hard to defend like that, no matter who you are. So I think that's the biggest matchup of the game. I think Kansas City's defense they've been good all year long. I think they'll play well in this game. It's a question for me of how much can Miami's defense, with all those injuries, how well can they hold up? Can they hold up enough to hold the Chiefs to 23 or less? The Chiefs offense has not been prolific this year, so it's possible. Or is it one of these things where it's just too many injuries and the game just breaks?
The Dolphins offense is not prolific at all against good teams.
No, it's not.
At all.
And that's why, that's my question. Like, look, to their credit, they held Buffalo because Buffalo made some mistakes, which God knows the Chiefs can make mistakes. They're top 5 in turnovers. That's going to be, to me, like, can the Dolphins do enough in this game? Or is it just, look, you just have so many injuries, the dam just breaks defensively. And it's just one of these things where, hey, look, you're giving all you got, but, like, it's just too much. I mean, Van Ginkel, for the outsider, people don't realize how good he is. Like, he's a really good player. I mean, Baker's a good player. Obviously, Chubb and Phillips are excellent. Howard, I know he's not technically rolled out. It seems like he won't play. It's half your defense. I mean, that's a lot of guys, plus the safeties being injured and beat up and didn't practice yesterday. Like, the Dolphins, can they win the game? Yeah. Is it going to be really difficult based on all the stuff that's conspired against them the last month or so over the year? Yeah, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, with the Bills, they figured out, hey, in the first half, let's run a little bit more in the second half because if we throw too much, those turnovers are going to show up. So they were able to control that stuff, and Miami unfortunately wasn't able to take advantage. Well, the money's coming in on the Chiefs. It went from 3.5 to 4.5 now.
Yep.
Well, what's your prediction?
I hope people don't hate me on this program because I've enjoyed the banter.
Hey, come on, bro. It makes sense. Go ahead.
I think the Chiefs are going to win this game by 2 or 3 scores. I do. And I think it's because of the injuries. If the Dolphins were fully healthy, I'd pick this game to be a field goal one way or the other. I just think what's going to happen is the Chiefs are going to get ahead. And if Miami's got to abandon the run game at all, it's over. That's when it just
coach does that on his own. They don't. It's not because they have to. It's because the coach abandons the run game. You know what I mean? All the time.
I think to me, really, it's more about the injuries and it's more about like the weather. I don't normally care that much about weather, but this is so extreme. I think it does matter to some extent. Like when you're coming out of 70, 80 degrees and it's like you're getting off the plane, like, oh my God, it is -10 with the wind chill. That's tough. I think like 27-10 or something. I think it's close for a while. And I think it's one of those games where like one play kind of changes the game, and then that's it. If the Dolphins were healthy, I think it'd be a really, really good game. I just think defensively they are so beat up. And one thing with the Chiefs, you got to communicate on defense. They have a ton of – they're like Miami. They have a ton of motion. They move guys around. They put them in an unorthodox spot. And if you don't prepare – if you can't communicate that quickly, that's a big problem.
They've had the problem even before you added these street free agents. Yeah. They've had that problem with their established guys trying to figure out, Fangio's defense and everything they have to do. It's the first year. It's going to, next year you'll see them play better and understand their assignments and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of the way it goes, bro.
How do you, I don't usually ask you questions in your program. What is your prediction for the game, or do you not give it till later in the week?
No, I don't mind. I think KC will win. Yeah. I think it'll be closer.
Okay.
Actually, I think it'll be within a score. I think because Miami, I think, will be gritty, bro. And I think that game is not really going to open unless there's turnovers. Sure. I don't think it's going to open it up for it to be separate too much. All right, before I let you go, Browns at Texans, who wins?
That game is probably the hardest game for me to pick this weekend. I'm going to take Cleveland just because I think they're more complete. But I got to tell you, like Stroud he's really good. And man, maybe you have a game where he just plays out of his mind. My concern for them is if you're the Browns, you're watching that Colts game going, hey, what we're going to do? The Indianapolis didn't bother to the whole game. We're going to take away Nico Collins because we can. And I don't think anybody else beats us for any meaningful yardage. I like Cleveland. I mean, look, if Cleveland wins that game and the Chiefs do win, there's a divisional round where Kansas City goes to Buffalo and Cleveland goes to Baltimore. And you're going to have storylines at the wazoo. I mean, you're going to have Flacco going back to Baltimore, and then the Chiefs and the Bills. It's not a divisional game, but it feels like one at this point. They play each other, it feels like twice every year. I do like the Browns. I like them. I don't love the Browns like some people do. I think it's overboard, but I like them in that game.
Well, Browns are dangerous. They have a line. They can run the football, and they have a defense. So if Flacco just manages the game, okay, they're dangerous, bro. They're dangerous because fundamentally they're put together the right way. That's the thing about the Browns, that they have the foundation that you normally need to succeed. Run the ball, offensive line, and defense. And Flacco's a veteran, bro. If he just can make some plays and stay away from mistakes, Cleveland can win ugly all the way through, bro. All the way through. They're dangerous. They have nothing to lose. Nothing. That quarterback has nothing to lose.
No, there's no question. I mean, that is one of the real underplayed storylines in the AFC this year is like Buffalo and Baltimore, the pressure on those teams to win is immense. It is immense. I mean, both of those teams. Like, if you lose this year, Buffalo's $40 million over the cap next year. Like, they're going to lose a decent amount of guys, and they're getting older. The pressure on them to win is huge. Baltimore, it goes without saying, with all the playoff failures they've had, like, it's huge for them. That's kind of one of the funny things here. Whether you want to talk about Miami, you want to talk about Kansas City, you want to talk about Cleveland, Houston, there's no pressure. Like, nobody. I mean, look, the Dolphins are so beat up. Nobody's expecting them to go on a run at this point, so there's no pressure on them. Cleveland, there's no pressure on them. They started 5 quarterbacks. Houston, they're the classic, like, happy to be here team. And, hey, look, we do what we do. And the Chiefs, they've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years.
Right, yeah.
I mean, if they go to Buffalo and they score to go up 7-0, you know how tense it's going to be at that stadium? I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. Like that's kind of the funny thing. If you're not Baltimore or Buffalo, you play one of those teams, it's like, hey, guys, listen, we got house money because nobody's more terrified to lose than these two teams are. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting. It really is.
Bills, Steelers, Bills, right?
Yeah. I tell you what, I do think the Bills win this game going away, but I will say, it's just not the kind of game over the years with Buffalo where it's like, it's 1917 at the 2-minute warning, one way or the other. I mean, I think the Bills should win this game like 31-6. It's also the kind of game that Allen throws 3 picks in and Jaylen Warren rushes for $140. And you're just like, oh my God, can Pittsburgh win this game? I do think Buffalo wins, though. I can't pick that the other way.
Winning 10 games, Mike Tomlin is a stud, bro.
It's unbelievable. Should be put in the Hall of Fame tonight.
Jesus Christ.
The team is awful. The team is awful. They win 10 games every year.
Yeah. And you had some idiots thinking like they should let him go, or they think he's I mean, you should let them go if he feels like it. Packers at Cowboys.
I like Dallas. I think the Packers will actually surprise some people and play well in the game. Defensively, they scare the hell out of me. They're not great. But offensively, Jordan Love, like, people are not talking about how good this guy is.
He's played good this year, man. He's done a nice job.
He's got 32 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Played great. And that, I think it's over the last 8 games, I think it is, because they're like 7-1, I believe. There's something like that. 7-1, 6-2. He's thrown 18 touchdowns and 1 pick. I mean, there's a world he outduels Prescott in this game. I just think Dallas is more talented, so I think they find a way. But I like it right around the number. I like it like a touchdown.
Well, Packers are young too. That's
very young, very young.
That's the impressive part for them in the future. Yes. Rams at Lions.
I like the Rams. The Lions have not played well defensively now for a few months. That scares me. And the Rams, look, man, I mean, whether you're talking about Kupp or Puka Nacua or Kyron Williams, it's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And the Rams defensively, they got a couple guys who can get after you. Obviously, Aaron Donald being one of them. They've got the experience. For the storyline, it could be cool if the Lions win because the Lions haven't won a playoff game. They haven't hosted a playoff game forever. I like the Rams. I think the Rams will find a way. And I got to tell you, if I'm the Niners, man, the last team I want to face is the Rams. They know them. They know them, and they're not scared of them.
And the reason why you're picking the Rams like I am, you don't trust that Lions defense, bro.
No, I don't. I don't at all.
There's no trust with that Lions defense. Every time I watch the Lions, I look at that defense and I say, that's the reason why you guys aren't going to go far. I like their offense, actually. I think their offense has just gotten better, actually, as the years gone on because they've gotten more to Gibbs. They've gotten him more involved. So I love their offense. I don't trust their defense for shit, dude. That's my problem with the Lions. All right, Eagles at Bucs. Hell of a year for Baker Mayfield, man.
This is one of those games. You could give me any score in either direction, and I'd be like, yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah. I'm going to take Philly for one reason. I think Mayfield's pretty beat up. Like, he looked really beat up in that Carolina game. If he was fully healthy, I'd pick Tampa because Philadelphia's a disaster. I mean, they can't do anything. They can't. For the longest time down the stretch, I was like, well, them and the Bills and the Chiefs are kind of put in the same bucket as like these talented teams that aren't playing up to standard. And while the Bills and the Chiefs have not looked great down the stretch, all the Bills have won their games. They've been competent. And the Eagles are just brutal. They can't do anything. I think their pride, they find some way to win that game, which, by the way, is probably going to be almost sound like a Philly home game. But, man, I think that's about as far as it's going.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. You're going strictly on their history, their recent history, which is in the Buccaneers' recent history. And so you got to figure, do you guys have like any pride left? Because you're not playing anything like the team we've seen the last couple of years. So you guys are going to beat these guys. But you're right. The Baker thing, him being banged up, that definitely is an issue. But again, I can't give him enough credit because he played like I never thought he could play, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And kudos to him, dude. Kudos to him. He'll get a nice little contract here to cap it all off, and I'm sure he'll be the starter again next year for the Buccaneers. What do you got going on in Sports Illustrated so they can check you out?
I got enough to last me a lifetime. I guess, look, all the stuff that I normally write every week, so I won't run it all down. But then also, think it's either on tomorrow or Friday. I have a piece where I spoke to people in the league, coaches, front office, about the officiating and what has gone wrong with the officiating. What is the biggest? I basically asked them all the same questions, 2 questions. What is the thing that bothers you most about the officiating? And if you had the power to fix something, what would you fix? And I got to tell you, got some really interesting answers. So going to roll that out. I'm going to finish writing that up actually right after the show. I hope people check that out. Some of the answers I thought were really, really interesting and maybe something you wouldn't expect. So looking forward to getting that out there. But then, yeah, other than that, playoff quarterback rankings, matchups to watch this week. You name it, it's out there. Working on a top 50 free agent list with projections from agents. So that's been fun.
By the way, it's official. Amy Strunk and the Titans are a bunch of morons, right?
It's not great. I don't get it. Like I and the people who throw out like, well, look at his record. Look at the team. Look at like what do you expect that guy to do when he's had even a borderline decent team? They go in the playoffs and they're good every year. I mean, I'll tell you right now, man. If I'm a team like the Chargers, I'd be like, how much money do you want? Like, now they're the Chargers, so they won't ask that question.
Here's a blank check. Not that those cheap bastards over there with the Chargers would do anything like that.
They won't do it, no.
Here's a blank check. Come on over and help us. Mike Vrabel is a top 10 coach in the NFL, dude.
Yeah, he's an excellent
There
coach.
should be a bunch of teams lined up begging.
Yes.
And good for him. Now he gets to go wherever the hell he wants to go and all that.
I mean, that's kind of the explanation out of the Titans that they didn't trade him. They're like, well, it might take too long. It might take too long. How long can it take? Call up every team with a vacancy. I mean, hey, what would you give us? Something's better than nothing. I mean, even if you don't want to sit there and haggle for a month, okay, fine. I mean, you didn't even call up anybody? It's so weird. Like, what are you doing? It's so bizarre. It's so weird. By the way, and I'm going to obviously talk to you before this. Are you going to the Senior Bowl again this year?
No, I'm not actually. I am not going to go this year, unfortunately. No,
okay.
Stay away. Yes.
Okay. I just figured I'd ask. So
yeah, I might go to the Combine. I might see you at the Combine. But I am not going to go to the Senior Bowl. No.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I'm hurt, but I understand.
I'm sorry, my brother. I appreciate it. But anyway, we will catch up next week, my friend. Enjoy the playoff football. Enjoy Kansas City. Should be one hell of an atmosphere. My friend who's a big Dolphins fan got tickets, and he's going to go. And I go, it's freaking awesome for you, bro. I know maybe they don't win, but what happens by luck, they win. And, you know, a playoff game at Arrowhead is already priceless. If somehow or another they win, then you've got a memory for a lifetime there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's a bucket list to go to Arrowhead, but to go to Arrowhead for a playoff game in the snow. Oh, dude, come on. Doesn't get better.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'll tell you, they don't have like media parking at Arrowhead, so you walk the distance, and it is a distance. And I in an odd, sick way, I'm kind of looking forward to the walk in 0-degree weather. Like, it just feels like that's going to lock me in mentally for a playoff game. That's going to be a lot of – now, I'm glad as hell once I get in there, I can just walk right inside the building. All right, I've gotten soft. In my 20s, I would have been like, this is great. I'll tell you here, you know, I'll leave it on this. I went to a game years ago at Arrowhead as a fan, almost 10 years ago with my girlfriend, now my wife. And she went just because we were dating. She wanted to be a good soldier. It was 6 degrees. It was a Thursday night game. And so we went out, we bought, you know, the long johns and all that stuff. And I'm standing there at the end of the game. She was like, all right, let's go. And I was like, I can't feel my legs. And I had to stand there for like 10 minutes and start to slowly move around until I could feel my legs again. That was a lot of fun in my head back then. I was like 27. Now I'm 35. And now I just want to sit in that press box and look out. Because the walk will be fun, but the walk's enough.
But I did not know that Kansas City doesn't have media parking.
Oh, wow. They park you as far away as humanly possible. You park with the fans. Like, you park. Jared Bell and I have had discussions about this. So when we both covered the game when they played Philly this year, and it had rained all night. And so where we parked was a mud bowl, and our shoes were just caked. I remember walking in. We walked. I mean, bro, seriously, walked over a mile. like to get to the stadium. Because if you've ever been to Arrowhead, the parking lot, it's one of those old style, and it's Kaufman. So it's huge. I mean, it's a parking lot that probably literally could park 100,000 cars in. They park you at like the edge of the parking lot. So when let me tell you, I'm getting a good 20 to 30 minute walk. Easy. Wow. And also, you think about the walk to start the game. Think about the walk after the game. It's a haul, man. You're walking easily 20 to 30 minutes.
Is it worse than going to Foxborough that has one road in and out? Is it like that shit?
It's very like that. I mean, it's weird when you go to Arrowhead, like most stadiums, there's a lot of stuff around it. There's nothing around Arrowhead Stadium. Nothing. Like if you want to go eat, like there's a Taco Bell. That's it. I mean, you're just in the middle of nowhere. Like when you leave, you drive by like residential housing on like 1-lane roads. I mean, and then you eventually empty out into the interstate. But to get to that, I was going to go Friday, but we're going to get a foot of snow here where I live. And so I'm screwed. I'm going to drive out Saturday, 6.5 hours, get to the game, go to the game, sleep, wake up, drive home Sunday morning. So it's going to be a little bit of a trip. You know, like you said, man, if you get the opportunity to go to a playoff game, you go. And SI was like, if you want to go, you got to credential your name on it.
And Arrowhead? We don't have a lot of these stadiums left, by the way.
No, you go.
You know what I'm saying? This is not one of the new stadiums. This is like actually one of the last classic stadiums that we have left, too, on top of all of that, which is really cool. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would love to do that. I'm envious of my friend that is going to, even though I know we don't have a lot of hope or whatever.
Hey,
who cares? That experience at Arrowhead.
Every game in the NFL playoffs is Game 7.
And by the way, it's a blessing. I told them, dude, you're blessed just to be able to get the tickets to go to that thing. Yeah. Because obviously that stadium, it's not like down here where we sell our tickets easily. The KC fans hang on to their tickets a lot more than we do. But anyways, it is what it is. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up next week.
Hey, take care.
Thank you, sir. There you go. The great Matt Verderame, always getting it done, man.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.